Welcome to the March 19th episode of Right Now. I'm Chris Reddy. I have in studio my two regular co-hosts back again, Mike Desaulniers with us and Curtis Ehler.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be considered a regular co-host again. Last time we were on the air, we said our former but returning co-host. So I'm back in the seat.
Yes,
that's perfect.
Well, you were absent for a couple of weeks there. So
I don't blame
you.
I would knock me down
back.
too.
So I'm going to start off first by saying thank you to Wyndham Industries, Building Strong Foundations for Tomorrow, one of our sponsors here on Right Now. We are on 95.3 FM WILI, 1400 AM. There are a couple of other platforms that you can listen to us. You can go to WILI.com. Go to the podcast, scroll down to Right Now, and you can listen to the podcast format of any of these previous episodes. You can also go to YouTube. You can search WILI and Right Now. You can see the in-studio recording that we conduct each week. And I'm excited to announce that we have a new platform.
Oh,
are you ready for this?
Let's hear it.
If you receive broadcast television through Spectrum in the Wyndham area,
I do.
Beginning on April 7th, you will be able to go to Public Access Channel 192, and on Tuesday, April 7th at 6:30 p.m., you will be able to view the recordings in studio of our show.
Wow.
It will not only be broadcast Tuesdays at 6:30, but also Saturdays at 7 p.m.
You have
another format where you can see Right Now. I know, Mike, you are also going to have your show Unfiltered with Mike Desaulniers.
Yeah, it's coming up. We've just got to solidify a date on but it's the same thing. Going to be on Spectrum. Going to be not only like radio stars, but we're like TV stars now. This is
a big step. We're moving up in the world.
We're climbing the ladder.
Well, I'm glad you guys are part of it.
I'm a little nervous because doesn't the video camera still run even when we're on commercial break here on the radio?
No.
Do they get to hear all the things how we really feel in between the commercial breaks?
Thank you to producer Matt for hooking us up there.
That could be really good clips on the unfiltered section.
Absolutely.
So to start off today's episode, we are going to allow Curtis an opportunity to give us a little bit of a local update and a little bit of preview of what's going to be expected in the next few weeks of the Wyndham budget cycle.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, every town in Connecticut, we're in that municipal budget season, and Wyndham's no different. Now, here in Wyndham, the town council and the Board of Ed have both passed off their budgets to the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance is it now owns the budgets and gets to decide when they're going to have public hearings and when it's going to go to vote amongst the citizens. So this is important that people are talking, people are participating, particularly with the town budget, the general government budget. It was a weird budget season this year. There really wasn't a budget even close to being set in stone until the very last night before the deadline. Mm-hmm. So I know the public's going to have opinions. I'm sure that the staff that are part of these departments are going to have opinions. And now it's going to be the Board of Finance is going to be the place to go to voice them. The big dates we already had yesterday. Last night was the first presentation of the general government budget. It was delivered, the presentation by the town manager and the mayor. That's Rob Zernetsky and Thomas DeVivo. That was last night. This upcoming Wednesday, we're going to be getting a presentation on the Board of Education budgets. We're going to have some more deliberations, but we've already set our first public hearing date where the public really, I'm hoping that they come out and let everybody know what they feel. It's so important that we hear from the public because when this town tries to ignore its voters, ignore its citizens, we see what happens. They come out, when the voters know to come out, they're going to vote. They're going to vote no, and that's gonna throw things off. We really need to be listening to our voters, making sure that we're balancing our budgets right, getting it right the first time, so that we don't end up in a situation where we're running departments without a plan and we're making emergency contingencies. Right now, both the ed side and the town government are on spending freezes, essential spending only, because we couldn't bring a good budget forward for the voters. We stuck at zero. So we really want to hear from the public. We really want to get things right. At least here on the Republican team, we want to hear and we want to get it right. So, public, get out your pens. April 21st. That's a Tuesday. That's going to go ahead and be our public hearing for the public to come to the Windham Town Hall and discuss any subject that they want relating to the general government and Board of Education budgets. Tuesday, April 21st. Get out to the Town Hall. Come talk to the Board of Finance. Let us know what you think. Now,
what time is that?
great question. 7 p.m. It's in person. It's at the Windham Town Hall. And it is so important that we get these budgets right. We're going to have a lot of deliberation as a Board of Finance after the public hearing and before we send it to referendum. So, please, come out, let us know. Too high, too low, cut here, stay there. Anything. We need to know your input because we see what happens. We've gone through multiple years of the public's input getting disregarded, trying to railroad budgets through. It hasn't worked for the town. It's caused distress. We want to start running this town responsibly, the way that our citizens actually are looking for. What are the priorities of the people that live here, that use our services? What makes sense to you? We need to start listening more as a town. We're committed to it. Here on the Republican team, we're committed to it. Come on out, Board of Finance, Tuesday, April 21st, 7 p.m., Town Hall.
Okay, thank you, Curtis. And I do want to also add to what you said there, Curtis, that it really does take input from the residents of the town to participate in this process. In general, you look across the state and budget referendums, when they go to a town vote, are some of the lowest attended, lowest number of votes cast. So there are very few people that are actually making the decisions for everyone within the town. It requires that participation, as difficult as it can be, to dedicate time to participate in things like a public hearing for a budget in the town of Windham or the town of Scotland or the town of Mansfield, whatever it might be. It's important for you to be informed because this is directly affecting your taxes, your services, all of your day-to-day life here locally. Comes down to it. So
nothing impacts your day-to-day life more than your local town budget.
Yep.
This is the truth. And just to go and give your opinion, but like you said, also be informed because let me tell you, I've already got a taste of it. If you're an elected or representative official here in town, you've been getting some interesting propaganda about how minimal the impact is on your taxes. Let me just tell you, you're going to get a lot of propaganda. They're going to tell you. Remember 2 years ago, Mike? They used the word minimal impact.
Yes.
Do you remember the minimal impact on your wallet that year when we did revaluation?
I do.
How minimal was that?
It was quite substantial when you think about it. And I just did the math again, and I really think that we're going to have a repeat of what we did 2 years ago.
Oh, we are,
if not a little more.
We are really in danger of heading down that path and heading there quickly. So you're going to hear a lot of propaganda. You're going to see a lot of assurances, minimal impact. You'll probably get that phrase thrown out there. You're going to see a lot of numbers and figures getting thrown out. Do not trust it unless it's coming from the source. Go to the Board of Finance public hearing, get the facts, look at the budget, do the math. Ask any representative up there when they're on the record to give you that truth because, boy, I'm telling you, the propaganda mill has started running up early this year, right. And we need to get ahead of it. The citizens deserve to see what they're in for.
They really do. And we look around and I'm watching I'm watching the storybook already start to unfold. Yeah. You've got a couple of the local politicians already starting on Facebook, talking about the work that the council's done and
the work that the council's done.
And the council. And I kind of feel bad because half of our budget meetings, we couldn't get into our computers and see this stuff. So you go in almost unprepared because all you have is the written document that you received first that hadn't been updated. And, it's not taken into account all the projects, the bonding, which, bonding is, as we talked about earlier, it's just another word for a loan, So it's like we're out of control. The spending's out of control. We have too much debt, and the only way out of it is these massive increases. And that's the major problem. And you're going to see. I have a feeling you're going to see some major stuff coming from the Board of Ed. Some more propaganda. Today, I heard students were making posters to not cut our programs. Vote. Get out and vote.
I'm sure they're doing that independently on their own time and not at the direction of any town employee.
They did that at the direction of a person that works for the school that was taking care of their class. Let's make some posters. Get out and vote, so they don't cut our programs.
Well,
I heard that and I was like, wow, this is just 5 phone calls already, and it's only just a little after 3:00. So what time did school get out?
and plus it's 99-cent shake day over at the DQ if you use the app. So I mean, you're getting these calls even though everyone's jammed up in line at the
even
DQ?
Though they're at the DQ.
Wow. Oof, that's rough.
Yeah. It's tough. So major issues here, and we're going to have to make the cuts that and make some changes.
Changes is the right word.
One of them, you've got 12 or you get these programs that come in, and you get 12 to 20 people that show up at a meeting, and they want these services, they want the amenities.
Yeah.
And then it gets put on a ballot, and the same row votes it through every single time. When in the end, it's only a small percentage of the population using it.
Yeah.
The pool, for one big thing, that pool. I mean, look at you want to see savings. Fill that thing in with sand, turn it into a basketball court, a shuffleball court, turn it into anything. But it can't be a pool.
It's amazing how there's that argument that there's not enough space, there's not enough time over the community center. But then we have a whole pool room that dozens of our residents are using.
Right.
All that electricity, all that staffing, all those people that need all those certifications in order to be able to operate that for dozens of our residents to enjoy.
Dozens of residents, but the entire group of us are paying for.
Oh yeah.
And we're not all of us, and I'm not going to say I'm in this position, but there are people deciding what they're going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Are we going to pay our bills, or are we going to eat tonight? And
oh yeah.
This is the reality of this. We are in a situation. No more games. There's got to be cuts, massive cuts, a change of direction.
Yes.
And that's what's got to happen. We've got 20 years of foolish spending, and or more, actually more than that. And now it's come to the time where the collectors come to collect the money, and we just don't have it to pay.
Yeah. Getting back to those fundamentals. We've gotten ourselves into a situation where, I can't sugarcoat this. I'm just going to say it as plainly as I can. The way that we're going with the budgets, there's no scenario that we're not going to be paying more and getting a whole heck of a lot less. And the reason why is exactly what Mike is talking about. We're borrowing to build things that not a single person in this town can say with a straight face benefits the town as a whole. Mike, did you need that parking garage to be able to stay in your home here in Windham?
You're hitting the nail on the head there. The projects that we're doing, the parking garages and all these other things we're doing, it's almost to me, if I look back at my life as a young kid, 19, 20 years old, and the things that I thought were priorities and the things I spent my money on.
Oh yeah.
You buy a brand new sports car because that salesman told me I can make the payment, and I knew I could make the payment. But what the salesman forgot to tell me was the maintenance and the insurance and the taxes and everything that went along with that. So when the repo man comes and says, "Hey, we need this money," you've got to change your lifestyle. And that's what the town's got to do.
If any repo men who can put a town parking garage on their flatbed and haul it away, I'll
right.
I've got a number for you. You can call and we can work this out. I would be.
I mean,
that would fix a lot of my problems actually when it comes to this budget.
That parking garage, it seems like nothing but a hassle. I'm not hearing good things from the police department.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hearing good things from citizens. The businesses that we're killing, we're talking about we need more businesses to come to town.
Right.
And in the same breath, we're taking away the parking to the businesses on an entire street. Mm-hmm. We're telling them to go into a parking garage that's not monitored. The elevators are down. There's always problems in there. You're making it harder to do business. Mm-hmm. And then we've got a tax collector who tells us we're going to hire private investigators to go out and audit our small businesses.
Oh, Mike, I'm going to talk to you a lot about that on your Monday show. You will be so pleased about how much revenue they're projecting they're going to make by spying on your license plates and your small business's equipment.
Right.
Putting on the binoculars and looking through your windows to make sure that you're paying taxes on that fax machine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to save it for Monday because you're not even going to believe
this is going to be awesome.
How much money they think they're going to make by intruding on every inch and facet of your business and your life.
So,
more government overreach.
It is. There's so much government overreach, and we've got to do something about it.
Well, I wish that I could enlighten the conversation a little bit more, but I'm about to take this to now the state level where things are not looking brighter at all.
Okay, because we need a break. I was hoping for something lighter. Okay, but okay, so we're not going to get that. Fine. Okay,
we're really not going to make it there, at least before the bottom of the hour at our break, which is coming up shortly. But we have something that I want to bring up, and this is something that could be very easily overlooked based on the wording of the act that they've raised to a bill now that we're going to talk about in just 1 second.
Okay.
But first I want to explain what the committee is that is impacted by this legislative change. And this is raised Bill 5554.
Okay.
This is through government administrations and elections. This is the type of bill that keeps me up at night, figuring how can this be happening and how can I message the importance of opposing this type of consolidation of power, I'm going to call it, at the state level that's trying to be pushed through right now. The state legislature has something that's called the Regulatory Review Committee.
Okay, Regulatory Review Committee.
This committee holds the legal authority to approve, disapprove, or reject regulations that are proposed by the state executive branch agencies.
Okay,
and
so
when
these
I say
aren't
that,
laws? These are
regulations that are being put forth by the agencies. And if you think about these agencies, these are the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, the Department of Labor,
okay,
the Department of Healthcare and Public Health, the Department of Motor Vehicles, all of our big agencies that fall underneath the executive branch of the state government, the governor's office. This Regulatory Review Committee is that last safeguard of having an opportunity to either approve or disapprove regulations that are coming out of these agencies that clearly are headed by political appointees.
yes.
Okay? What raised Bill 5554 wants to do is change the structure and makeup of this committee, which has been in place since the early 70s.
Okay.
Currently, it's a 14-member committee that's made up of 6 senators, 3 Democrat, 3 Republican.
Okay, even split.
Yep. In the House, it's 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans.
Okay, so it's all even.
Yes, to even. What they want to do is they want to change that makeup so that the demographic more accurately reflects the advantage the majority has in both chambers in our state legislature, Senate and House. No longer a 50-50 split. The other thing that is concerning about this is that right now it's co-chaired by a Republican and a Democrat. They want that to change also, so there is no requirement for it to be co-chaired by a bipartisan manner.
Now that really changes a lot of things. Besides just the obvious, which is you want really good consensus that any of these regulations that these executive agencies are putting out there comply with the law. You really want that to be a nonpartisan thing.
Absolutely. And when you think about the potential impact of some of these regulations, I mean, this controls many, many facets of our day-to-day lives.
Oh yeah, every facet of most businesses. I mean, you can't run a business in Connecticut without being a legal expert in every regulation that the governor's office is putting out on you every year.
Yeah. So this takes it that step further, where now we are no longer going to have an even split and balance, and that these seats are going to be divvied up based on the majority number in each chamber. I think that's very concerning, and really, again, shows what happens when there's unchecked power in a state government. We've seen that this has been a majority party for decades. State appropriated spending has skyrocketed. And when we are taking these very simple barriers to what's being put out by state agencies that are not elected officials, that are run by unelected officials, there really has to be some elected officials in the process, and it really should be in that bipartisan manner. So this is something I'm very concerned about. I think really all Connecticut residents should be concerned about this and should voice some opposition to this. Please, if you have the ability, with all these bills that we've been talking about here, and I talked about them on Unfiltered the other day on Mike's show, go to the state website, cga.gov. You can find how to submit written testimony on any of these. All you have to do is simply say, I oppose this bill. You don't have to go into a long explanation of why. You just have to make sure that your voice is being heard there. It is all based on the committee that these bills fall under. So it's really easy to Google, for instance, Government Administration and Elections Committee. It'll bring you right to the page, and as you scroll down, you'll see a link, a hyperlink that will allow you to go right to submitting written testimony with these. There's another one, as we're just a couple minutes before break, that I also want to bring up to you guys before we go. This is one that I didn't talk about on Monday. We'll cover some of those in just a few minutes and go into them a little bit more. This is actually Senate Bill 387, and this is an act concerning election administration oversight. Now, if you remember in previous episodes of this show and on Unfiltered, we've discussed the housing bill and how in Connecticut's housing bill, there's a loss of home rule and that local planning and zoning control over what happens in your town. I see this as being very similar, this bill being very similar to elections. I have the bill right in front of me here in its entirety, and on the very first page, purpose number 2 lists that this new election oversight committee has the ability to oversee the administrations of elections in such municipalities where necessary. There's no definition as to what is deemed necessary to oversee the election. But now we're going to take another local control. Why are we voting registrar of voters? Why are we having moderators? Why are we having local officials regulating our elections when now the state's going to come in and say, guess what? We're going to take over.
Right.
There have been so many changes to elections in the state over the last 3 years. It's even as all three of us were involved in local and state politics and different facets, and I don't know how anybody can keep their heads wrapped around it, how these things are run, how they're administered. It
is so complicated.
There's an old saying about how Democrats are the gas pedal and Republicans are the brakes. But man, we're stepping hard on the gas pedal right now. We should be pretty cautious about how we handle elections.
There's some more that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes when we come back from our break. This has been Right Now on 95.3 FM WILI. Welcome back to Right Now. I'm Chris Reddy here on 95.3 FM 1400 AM WILI. In studio with me, Mike Desaulniers, Curtis Ehler, regular co-hosts. We are back together, the three of us, for another episode of Right Now.
The three amigos ready to ride again.
That's it. during the break, we actually had a phone call, so I wanted to make sure that I clarified something. Person asked about one of the bills that I had spoken about just before we took our break, and I wanted to make sure, because the numbering is difficult, I wanted to make sure this was very clear. We talked about an act concerning the membership of the Legislative Regulation Review Committee. This is the committee that oversees regulations that are put forth by the executive branch, the governor's office. You can think of the DEEP, Department of Labor, Department of Public Health. The regulations they put forth have to be looked at by this legislative review committee, and the state legislature is looking to change the breakdown of the committee, which right now is bipartisan. 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. They're looking to change that. They're also looking to change the status of the co-chairs, where right now it is bipartisan, one of each major party. They're looking for that to no longer be a requirement for this committee. The raised bill is Raised Bill 5554. If you search that, if you Google Connecticut Raised Bill 5554, you can go to the Government Administration and Elections Committee webpage. That will allow you to submit written testimony if you are in opposition of this type of consolidation of power by our state government. Very important, something that a lot of people would overlook. We had talked about this just briefly before the break. It is absolutely overwhelming. I spend hours every day looking at all this, figuring out messaging it and how to present it to people in a way that it's easily digestible and recognizable so that you know what is happening there. And keep in mind, this is supposed to be a short legislative session directed at budgetary appropriated changes that are necessary to continue the government running, and all this type of stuff is now going on. The other bill that I talked about just before the break was Raised Bill 387, which is an act concerning an election administration oversight. And this was the one where, again, we have concerns where we're seeing I'm going to say a loss of local control across many different aspects in this legislative session, from housing with our local control of planning and zoning to now local control of elections potentially being overseen by a administration. Now, I could understand there being oversight if there are concerns about elections in a particular municipality.
Sure, going back to audit it, maybe even observe.
Yep.
Yeah.
I go back to thinking of things that happened in Bridgeport. I'm sure these things were carried out to make sure that elections remained fair and true, and that voter confidence remained high. This concerns me when it does not specifically address anything other than where necessary they can now control the elections for that municipality. It's always in the wording.
Yes.
And I also want people to keep in mind, and I've said this over and over again on these shows, nothing in Connecticut happens in big steps. It's all these small little incremental steps until all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what has happened? What is going on? Whoa, where did we get to this point? So that's what I'm trying to do in presenting some of these things to you. If you're in opposition of either one of these bills, please go and Google CGA and the committee, which in this case for both of these bills is Government Administration and Elections. You want to go to that committee page to be able to submit written testimony.
Let me tell you, with these this election oversight that they're suggesting for our local elections now is going to be overseen by the state potentially with this raised bill 387.
That's correct. Yep, this one's 387.
With this state oversight, yeah. When you talk about the loss of local control, with planning, with elections, with so many things, just I don't know, Chris. I hear you've got some sway up at the state. If the state wants to take over control of paying my town's bills, that's the town of Windham, Connecticut, 06.
Yeah.
256 06 226
Yep.
06 I can keep going, but if they want to take over control of paying down our bills, that would be great. If they're on a spree of taking over control of everything else anyway.
I think they would like to take over control, but not pay the bills.
Isn't that how it goes? What is it? Unfunded mandates?
Yeah, we've heard about those
famous,
before.
The famous phrase here in Connecticut that we all get run on unfunded mandates.
So we do have a couple other bills that I want to discuss as we have about 20 more minutes left in our second segment here. On Monday, on Mike's show, Unfiltered, I brought up a couple of them, and I just want to go over them again and kind of also expand on a couple of things with regard to these also. One of them was Senate Bill 463. This was the one that was really kind of designed around voter intimidation, preventing voter intimidation. And you saw this because some of the wording that was used and some of the legislation proposed in it was that federal agents would be banned from detaining or arresting individuals near polling locations or from standing outside to check voter eligibility.
Okay.
And I kind of had already thought that was something that was in place in Connecticut, where we have laws that say that non-citizens are not eligible to vote in federal and state elections in Connecticut already on the books.
Right.
So we're kind of like just saying something a little differently. And if I'm really kind of wondering if this is such a big concern, but we already have legislation on the books. Are we concerned that there are people who shouldn't be actually voting in these elections? Because that's kind of me seeing through the tea leaves that we already have some laws, but I mean, we do know that in general, a lot of the laws in Connecticut, a lot of people don't listen to. But
so you're saying that
case,
maybe they're not.
Yeah, in this case, I'm really kind of concerned that we're adding legislature where it's not really necessary if we already have legislature in place, specifically to put something on the books so that it ideologically appeals to a voter demographic.
Oh, we would never waste our time doing that.
You don't think that happens in Connecticut?
No, we don't have the time. We're so busy changing every other facet of our daily lives. Yeah.
Some of the other components to Senate Bill 463 do make it a crime to possess a weapon within 250 feet of an election site. I agree. I want safe election areas, but again, I have to be the proponent of the Second Amendment that I am, and the supporter of the Second Amendment, and say that once again, this is a small incremental step into encroaching on our rights. And the reason I say that is, for the most part, again, we already have legislation on the books that say that with a concealed carry permit, you are not allowed to carry inside of a government building or a school, which is also the location in many of these towns where there is a polling center or a polling location. So just because it's being used as the facility of a polling location, if it's still in a town hall or in a school, do we need to, again, create more legislation?
Yeah, and I mean, the constitutional question, I mean, I really hope that they're considering this, unless that's the whole idea, is that they want this to go up to the Supreme Court. Again, all three people sitting here are involved with local and state politics here on the show, and we all know how high the bar is for how you can ban a resident from participating in an elector from participating in a town meeting, even public comment at a board meeting. The bar is so high to prevent someone from being able to come in and participate. I would be very concerned that the Second Amendment rights would trump any effort here from the state legislature.
There is one other aspect to Senate Bill 463 that I want to mention, and this is that local officials are to notify the Connecticut Attorney General's office if they receive a subpoena for ballots or other records related to an election.
Oh, now why would they be in such a rush to let their attack dog know? What benefit would that give them?
Make sure that there's timely dissemination of information.
That's right. Fire up the shredders, boys.
So, you know, I also want to bring up one other aspect of this that I'm, kind of going to say. I spent, and I think I mentioned this actually on Monday, in the past 2 election cycles, I have literally toured the district and been at every single polling center and never seen voter intimidation.
Good.
Like, I just don't see that as being as big an issue as they are making it out to be.
Okay.
What I have seen a lot of is ballot fraud.
No, not
Okay? No, I haven't seen it personally myself. I've seen the videos of Bridgeport.
Oh, yeah.
But, those are the issues that I'm more concerned with. And, like, this is, I think...
Do they have any laws, proposed legislation to help on that? Maybe some retrainings?
So...
Some
I
wrist slapping?
I did not see that. I did see something that I do support. And I think I mentioned this on Monday also. This is Senate Bill 459. This bans anyone convicted of election crimes from distributing absentee ballot applications for 12 years.
Okay. It's small, but I'll take it.
Yes, and that's absolutely things that I will support. I will support increasing the penalty for election crimes.
Oh, yeah.
I would also, support these type of efforts where you can't go right back to doing the same thing that you're convicted of doing during our elections. We have to safeguard this somehow. With the case of Bridgeport, what we're starting to hear now is that many of the people who were involved are getting very minimal punishments.
Isn't that how it goes?
And I think that sets a bad precedent because it really doesn't say, look, we take this seriously. I mean, we pretty much were a national embarrassment when news and media outlets grabbed that video of somebody pulling ballots, like fistfuls of ballots, out of a purse or a bag or whatever it was and shoving them into a ballot box.
Yeah, if we wanted to put Connecticut on the map, that wouldn't have been the way that I would have hoped.
Definitely not. Definitely not. So there's a couple of last things that I do want to talk about, and this is something that, again, is being added in this current legislative cycle under government administration and elections. And this is something that I have actually done quite a bit of research about that really is something that I, again, am going to say that I strongly oppose. This is Raised Bill 386.
Okay.
And this is an act concerning the use of ranked choice voting for certain elections in Connecticut. And they're saying right now that this is only going to be used for party caucuses, conventions, primaries, including presidential preference primaries, and in certain municipal elections.
No kidding.
They're going to move on to ranked choice voting. Now, I am absolutely a believer in one person, one vote. There are a number of reasons why people say that ranked choice voting should be utilized in our election process. And I want to take a few minutes to talk about some of the reasons why it shouldn't be and why I really have a problem with this. But this is something that, again, we want to recognize that Connecticut isn't doing things in one giant step. We're doing little increment things. We're going to see how this works, then we're going to add to it in the next legislative cycle, and we're going to keep going. Some of the goals of ranked choice voting are that people say it's a fairer form of election.
Okay.
Now, are you guys familiar with ranked choice voting?
Yeah, you can. There's a bunch of ways to do it, but I've seen a few states where you put all the candidates in order of which one you want the most and which one you want the least.
Correct. You are absolutely right on the mark there, Curtis. What you have is columns set up on your ballot. The columns are for each one of the candidates, and you rank them in order of your choice.
Okay.
And if you think about how it would work with 3 candidates, it's very simple. You have a threshold that has to be met, which is 50% plus 1 vote.
Yep.
So let's say that we have a municipal election with 3 candidates vying for 1 elected position.
Okay.
You have a vote, and if none of the 3 achieve that 50% plus 1 threshold, the person with the lowest number of votes is eliminated, and all the votes that were cast for that person are looked at again, and now the second choice comes into play. And those second choices are divvied up between those other two candidates.
Got it.
They look at it again, and now somebody has to be over that 50% threshold plus one vote. Mm-hmm. It's pretty simple. That will probably work. And in some cases, I would almost think about supporting that. But I'm going to tell you why I don't in just a minute.
Yeah, let's hear it.
But first, we have to think that it gets much more complicated when you now have 6 or 7 candidates on the same ballot.
Okay.
Because now you're having people rank 1 through 6 or 7.
Oh, I see what's going on here.
And now it's starting to get a little shady about how things are going to happen.
Yeah, I think I know where you're
going. I'm going to explain this in just one second.
Okay.
But let me first explain this part of it. When you have ranked choice voting, you do not have to choose all 7 candidates.
Okay.
Part of the instructions are you have to choose a candidate. Mm-hmm. You don't have to rank 7 of them. You could rank 2. You could rank 1. You could say the only person I want to vote for is this one person.
Everybody else gets a 0.
Everybody else gets a 0. But what happens
There's a few
when,
people I'd like to give a 0.
Yeah, but what happens when you're that person who only voted for one candidate and your candidate is now down on the bottom of the list and gets eliminated? You've only placed one vote. Mm-hmm. Your vote is now gone and thrown in the garbage.
Got it.
So now your vote doesn't count. You don't have a voice. It gets even more complicated than that. Mm-hmm. When you look at the fact that if you had, let's say, 6 candidates in a race, and we go through the counting process with 6 candidates in there, we'd be lucky if any one person got over 20%. I mean, there could be a case where one person got 50% of the vote and won. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you have 6 candidates that are now under, let's say, 25%? Mm-hmm. You start seeing patterns where you eliminate the lowest person, you start divvying up their votes, nobody meets that 50% plus 1 threshold. So now you cut off the next person. So now you have 2 candidates that are out there. You probably have some of those people who've only voted for one of those 2 candidates and nobody else. Mm-hmm. But you also have now candidates who their second or third choice are one of the already eliminated candidates. It really confuses the process. When we want to have confidence in our elections, we want to make them simple, easy to understand who won, mm-hmm. how you came to that result. Mm-hmm. But here, all of a sudden, you could have ghost ballots that disappear because all the choices have already been eliminated when you have these larger candidate groups. Now, in a state like Connecticut, is this going to favor a party that has a majority where they run in many towns seats uncontested mm-hmm. or against one person? You can see how it can really muddy the waters when you get to ranked choice voting.
I didn't realize how complicated it could get.
First, I'm going to say that it absolutely violates the one person, one vote idea of our elections. Mm-hmm. Second, it gets to be too complicated. When you are starting to have to explain how somebody won after 4 recounts of eliminating people and how you came to these numbers mm-hmm. that aren't going to match up, it's going to be very difficult to go back and look at how secure this election in fact was. Third, it's too expensive.
That sounds a lot of labor.
There's a lot of intensive labor in recounting multiple times when you do not meet that threshold of 50% plus 1 every single time. Mm-hmm. You might have to have 5 recounts to mm-hmm. get to that threshold. There are very many times where the person who achieves that first highest figure mm-hmm. ends up losing. It might even end up coming in 3rd or 4th place.
Oh, how interesting.
Like I said, your vote might be not counted if it's exhausted. Mm-hmm. If you no longer have anybody who you voted for on that ballot, your vote now no longer counts. It's just simply thrown in the trash. Well, I mean, it's not thrown in the trash, but it doesn't count by any means. My other concern is, and this goes to understanding not only survey taking mm-hmm. and polling, mm-hmm. but also statistics. As soon as you ask the average person to rank something in choice greater than 2 or 3, mm-hmm. they start to not care.
Yeah.
You can say, listen, I really like this person. I kind of like this person, and that would probably be my second choice. But if they're asked to choose 6 by ranked choice, they're just going to start filling in numbers to complete it. You're not getting a true, accurate assessment there of people's sentiment. It's been shown
That's
in
very clear
advertising.
consumer data.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Walmart. They realized very, very quickly that if you have 20 different choices for white bread, people are going to have an extremely hard time. They're going to be less satisfied. They're going to be less happy. They're going to buy less white bread.
Yeah.
But if you have 3 choices for white bread, if you have 2 choices for white bread,
Yeah. So because of
interesting.
because of those reasons, I really feel that like changing our electoral process, especially with some of the concerns that I have otherwise about elections in Connecticut, really is not something that we should be engaging in right now.
yeah, really slowing down and understanding it. Because I'm a math guy. You guys have probably seen my eyes kind of moving around.
Yeah.
There's a strong case to make that if you're a partisan voter, the absolute best strategy, mathematically speaking, is to vote for one and only one in the scenario that you're talking about right here.
Yep.
But then you're risking the reality of no candidate potentially reaching the 50% threshold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, does that get? There's just so many, like you brought up psychological reasons, consumer choice and psychology reasons. You brought up mathematical reasons. You brought up process reasons. Connecticut needs to slow down.
Slow the roll.
I mean, you take a look at it in a realistic picture here, and I work a lot of the elections. So I see people, and I see how many times people go up with a very simple ballot, and it gets kicked back because they've made a mistake.
Yeah.
So now, you're going to have all these mistakes being made.
Yeah.
You look at everything else they're doing, taking over, want towns to take over control of voting locations. They want to take over oversight of the electoral, of the process.
Yeah.
And now this. Where is this going? And where is it coming from? I'm sure it's not coming from the minority party. So are we setting ourselves up? It's kind of like when you're playing chess and you're not making the move, but you know where you're going.
Yep.
Yep.
You know where you're going. And by the time you get there, kind of like the situation Wyndham's in right now, we've gotten to that point. All the moves have been made, and it's checkmate time, and it's time to write the check.
Time to knock that king right over.
Right.
Yeah. So, the last issue that I want to talk about is the absentee voting for all.
Okay.
And we talked about this a little bit on Monday.
So this is that COVID era rule coming back.
Correct. And I want everybody to understand that we have reasons for absentee ballot requests right now that are fairly comprehensive and inclusive. All right. You can be out of town on election day and request an absentee ballot. Vacation, school, military, actively serving, you get an absentee ballot, you can request it. The other reasons, if you're working at another polling center that is not where you are supposed to vote, you can request an absentee ballot. If you are sick, the COVID era one that you mentioned, Curtis, or if you are caring for another person who is sick, you can request an absentee ballot.
Okay.
If you are unable to vote in person for religious reasons, you can request an absentee ballot.
It is definitely my religious belief to not miss work because I need that check.
There you go. Good.
You live in Connecticut.
Yes, exactly. You know. And finally, physical disability. If you are physically unable to travel and make it to a polling location, you can request a ballot. That includes a lot of things. Now, I'm kind of torn for this, and I think I mentioned this on Monday also on Mike's show, because what I feel happened in 2024 with my particular election and a college campus, I don't think would have had such an impact if absentee ballot for everybody was allowed, because I felt like a lot of the students that I talked to on election day would have voted at home if they had that option where they lived before they came to campus.
Yeah, I would assume most of those students feel a lot more connected to the town that they grew up in and have family in. Yeah.
Right. So, that I think I can support, but I really have a concern, and we talked about this on Monday, with absentee ballots, because that is the absolute instrument that when there is ballot fraud is where we need to secure.
Yeah.
We see this with ballot harvesting, where you have campaign operatives that are out encouraging people that generally do not understand a lot of the issues and concerns, but are being encouraged or even being coerced to not only register to vote, but request absentee ballots. And then many cases where they've reviewed this have shown that that coercion included collecting their ballots. And now you have not only a vote that is being cast by a campaign operative in the name of a voter, but you have disenfranchisement of another voter whose vote has been negated by that.
Yeah.
So I see this as something where we really have a concern on the aspect of allowing no excuse absentee ballots because we do see such a high incidence of fraud with this. And we talked about a few of those things there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to continue this conversation next week on Right Now. You've been listening to Chris Reddy, Mike Desaulniers, Curtis Ehler on 95.3 FM WILI.